Welcome everyone to the May 1st CHW Learning Circle, Self-Care for Your Beliefs and Stress. Our first presenter, Releasing Limits Beliefs. I'll read her bio by Melanie Williams. Melanie is a teacher. She states that she has always been a teacher. I received my formal training as a teacher from Augustine College in music education. I have been involved in my own personal growth and self-development for almost 35 years and have been teaching and facilitating workshops for 17. I began the journey into my personal healing through the simple act of running. I learned the light feeling I would have after running. I believe as my body became lighter, I became more open to my energy body, which opened me to receive the gift of Reiki into my life. As I deepened into my spiritual body, my emotional body began to call for my attention, and I have spent the last several years divulging deeply into ways to heal the pain of my own limiting beliefs. From this deep inner work with self has sprung my mentorship program where I facilitate others to find and release in their own limiting beliefs. Melanie will be she will be our presenter for part 1 of self-care for your beliefs and stress. And as we talked about, the learning objectives is, do you believe in your thoughts? Learn tips and tools on how to avoid compassion, fatigue, and burnout. Learn tips and tools around how to increase your immunity, your self-compassion, and learn and your long-term health impacts with mindful and stressful management. Discover meditation, smart stress management skills, and more in this 2-part presentation. So I will turn this portion of this learning circle over to Melanie J. Williams.
Okay.
Melanie.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. At the bio actually is a little bit outdated. I mean, most of it is correct, but I've probably been doing, rather than 17, it's probably 27 years.
Wow.
I've been doing this work for a very long time now. In varying, kind of varying hats, but all under wellness. So I'm going to be looking down at my notes because I made a few notes as I was sitting and just thinking about this a little bit. And the first thing I wrote down was that a very important part of being a human being is learning how to take care of ourselves. So I want you to just kind of just let that drop in. As a human being, which I am, it's very important for me to know how to take care of myself. Now, one of the things that can come in immediately, maybe consciously, maybe subconsciously, the part of me is like, do I deserve that? And then here's like with the beliefs, like, do I believe I deserve that? And at what level do I believe I deserve that? In the work I do, we often do like, 1 to 10. It's like 10%, I believe it, which is like 100%. Yes, yes, yes. Like, oh, maybe I believe that 3%, 5%, right? So it's like where I am with believing that I deserve to be taking care of myself is huge, right? Is going to have huge impact and how much you then suffer fatigue and burnout if you're in a caretaking position. Okay. Then if you are a caregiver, just think about those words. Caregiver. I am giving. There's nothing in that word that says receiving. I am giving care, which of course we all know is needed. It's fantastic. It can fill our cup up to a certain extent. But if we're not in a full circle of also getting our needs that we're not being given to, we're going to be depleted. Our cup, it's like if you have a cup, you're giving. It's like, what's happening to your cup? It's getting emptier and emptier, emptier. Not rocket science. We all know that. We know that, but we're not always so great at filling up our own cup, right? And a lot of caregivers will even say, well, it's easier. A lot of my clients, I guess, will say, but it's easier for me to give than to receive. And I like to say, and how's that working out for you in the long run, right? We're going to be depleted. And here's another really good red flag. If you start to feel resentful, you're overgiving. Now, it may not be that you're overgiving, but you're not doing enough on the receiving end. Okay? You might have to look at that, and go, which is it? But oftentimes it's that I'm not replenishing myself. What do I need to do to replenish myself? Do I deserve to replenish myself? Do I deserve to take the walk? Do I deserve to take the time to learn to meditate? Do I deserve to take some time to journal? Do I deserve to have some time to process with my friends? Do I deserve to have the time to do whatever it is that fills my cup up? And then, in the flyer, it talked about compassion. So the next thing I wrote down was, of course, if you're drawn to this field of being a caregiver, I would assume that you are very compassionate in your nature, that you're a kind and generous person. But compassion begins at home. So are you compassionate with yourself? And here again, we come back to our thoughts and our beliefs. How compassionate are your words towards yourself? How compassionate are your actions towards yourself? How oftentimes are your thoughts judging yourself, making yourself not enough, not good enough, not smart enough? Oh, I should have done that, too much pleasing. And so compassion starts here. Always have to think about filling your cup up before then you can share it effortlessly. Then you go home, fill your cup up again, and then you can give. It's just like this. It's a cycle, rather than just so many people are just giving, giving, giving. And then it's not if there will be fatigue and burnout, it's when there will be fatigue and burnout. It'll just be part of the equation. So wherever you are, in your career, whatever it is, even if you're not a caretaker, it's always that replenishing. And I think that there's this belief, again, back to the belief, that it's selfish to care for yourself. It's like you're a better person if you're giving to other people. And of course, it's a part of the equation, but we are part of humanity. We are part of that, right? Let's see, what else? So, oh yeah, this is something else I think is a little interesting. I'm not going to talk too much longer. I want to do a meditation with you. But if you start to notice yourself having thoughts inside your head, wow, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Wow, I'm feeling really burnt out. Wow, I'm so fatigued. I would suggest that you get out a notebook, you get out a journal, and you just start writing down, writing exactly what you're feeling. Let it come out on the paper. And oftentimes we can be surprised at what comes out. And you can ask yourself, you can kind of start to like saying, I am fatigued, I am overwhelmed, I am burnt out. You can hear that sort of like, it's like a statement, like it's done. It's like a done deal, right? Well, I would encourage you to get curious, like, okay, say you've written down, wow, I'm feeling really burnt out. And then say, well, to what degree? 0 to 10. And where am I feeling burnt out? Like, what part of my life feels overwhelming? And sometimes we can be surprised. I had some guests for lunch here today, and we were kind of talking about this topic, and he had read a book, and it's like, he said sometimes he can be around other people and they're saying, oh, I'm so burned out. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed. And he said, oh, I can find myself like agreeing with them. And then going home is like, well, that's not really true. I don't feel that way. So it's like to question, is that true? Is it true? Is it true that I really feel like what's mine and what's theirs? And then if I am feeling that, again, like get curious, start to ask your questions and like trust your own inner guidance, like asking yourself, well, what could I do? Like one small thing that would help me to feel more, I want to say the word sometimes called repleted instead of depleted, to like give to myself. Maybe it's like, oh, I need to drink more water. Or maybe I just need to go for a 5-minute walk. It doesn't, so many times people think that it has to be like this huge, huge things, but like small things each day can be filling that cup. But here's maybe I'll just kind of leave with this question for yourself to ask is to be able, because compassion was in the flyer, is how can I be more compassionate to myself today? How can I speak to myself more compassionately? How can I treat myself with greater compassion? Because I promise you, when you fill yourself with that, you will be able to just give easily with compassion without depleting yourself so quickly. So we're going to do, like a 5 to 10 minute, probably a 10-minute meditation. And then if you have any questions, you can ask me some questions before the next speaker comes on. So all good so far, Sarah? Okay. Wherever you are, I want you, if you're holding anything in your hands, you got your cell phone, anything, I want you to set it down. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to take a breath. A big breath through your nose and a big exhale through your mouth, and 1 or 2 more. And let's do this thing that we all know. It's like pull your shoulders up to the ear and squeeze everything as tight, 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 inhaling, and then let everything exhale and release. And go ahead and just shake your hands, shake your arms, kind of rotate, move your neck around a little bit, maybe your legs. And just come back into regular breath. And just doing that will release some of the tension and stress that's in your body, in your musculature. And so we're breathing in, we're breathing out. Bring your attention all the way down to your feet. Notice your right foot. Notice your left foot. Notice both of your feet. Notice your right lower leg, your left lower leg. Notice both of your legs. Notice your right knee. Notice your left knee. Notice both of your knees. Notice your right thigh and hip. Notice your left thigh and hip. Notice both of your thighs and hips. Notice your low belly, the right side, the left side, both sides. Notice your middle, your torso, right rib cage, left rib cage, both sides. Notice your chest to the right, to the left, both sides. Notice your right arm all the way down to the wrists and the hands and all the fingers. And then the left arm all the way down to your wrist, your hands, your fingers, and both sides, arms, wrists, hands, and fingers. Notice the front of your neck. Notice the back of your neck. Notice the front and the back. Notice the right side of your face and head. Notice the left side. Notice your whole head. Notice the right side of your back, the left side of your back. Notice your whole back. And then notice from your glutes all the way down to the bottoms of your right foot, leg, and on the left, and notice both. Feel yourself fully in your body. I'm here, body. I'm right here with you. I'm listening. What are you feeling, sweet body? What are you feeling, sweet heart? Just scan through your body and just silently, you might say, I have some tension in my right foot. My left hip is aching. Just go through it and just name it to yourself. When it's complete, say, thank you, dear body, for showing me and telling me what you're feeling today. And then go into your heart or your body and say, what emotions am I feeling right now? And it might be, oh, I'm feeling some sadness. What else are you feeling? I'm feeling, so just do that. So listen. What else are you feeling? And when you complete that part, you can say, oh, thank you for sharing with me. Thank you for trusting me and telling me exactly how you feel today. Thank you, thank you. And then we can go to the mind and say, oh, sweetheart, what are you thinking today? And just see what thoughts are there and what thoughts are going in circles. Just listen, no judgment. Can't do it wrong. And of course, if you're doing this on your own, you can stay longer in each of these segments. But for today, we'll say, thank you. Thank you for telling me, for showing me what you've been thinking. Thank you so much. Now we're just going to sit with ourselves for a moment or two. Having brought our intention, our attention inward, what I've been feeling physically, emotionally, mentally, thinking. I've brought my awareness internally, which is a deep act of self-love, of self-appreciation, of gratitude. And I just listened. I'm not making anything wrong or judging it. I'm simply being here with what is presenting and receiving it with kindness, with compassion. You may feel more anchored in your bodies at this moment, even if it's just 2% more. So take a deep inhale and exhale. Bring your palms, of your hands together. Just once again, giving yourself gratitude for being here, for taking the time to listen, to go internally and give yourself this attention. We are grateful, and so it is. Blessed be. And when you're ready, you can take another big breath. You can open your eyes. And Angela, do we have time if anybody has any questions?
Yes, we do. We can open up for questions or feedback at this moment as I'm helping and assisting our second presenter with the transition. Thank you for that moment, uh, Melanie. I really appreciate that. I love meditation, but I have to find that balance before I want to really fall asleep. But it gave me a moment to quiet my mind. Because as a CHW, as we all know, we're in a constant giving mode, and at some point, we know we have to learn how to care for our own needs. But our lived experience makes us experts at serving others. And so sometimes we are so focused on that care of others, and we get so caught up in that of those are our communities that we neglect ourselves for. So for it
Mhm.
is good to hear that reassurance that it's okay to be able to take a step back and care for ourselves, replenish ourselves, refill our cups. Um,
Mhm.
and even understanding what that even means, it could be
Exactly. And it can be individual. And so sometimes for people, it's like just starting to ask themselves the question, what does fill me up? And
right.
if you don't know right away, that's okay.
Mhm.
You just then ask the question again the next day. And then you might notice, like, oh, I went outside for a little while and I felt a little calmer. I felt a little more peaceful. Oh, going outside. Because sometimes honestly, sometimes people, they just don't know. That's okay. You don't have to make yourself wrong for that.
Absolutely. And we had a wonderful conversation just before this session, and we were talking about our life responsibilities. And I'm going through the first time being an empty nester. So it's like, okay, I'm learning myself all over again. I'm not that
Yeah.
same person when I was rearing my children or with my
Hmm.
grandchildren all the time. Life has gotten a little bit more quieter. So it's like giving me time to really think and work through that and say, hey, what does really Angela like? What does Angela like to do?
Exactly.
I don't go to bed so early anymore because I'm not tired of taking care of others. So, we'll
Yeah.
take this time to open up the floor for anyone that would like to jump in. Please introduce yourself and your role in the CHW workforce, and any thoughts or feedback or any suggestions on self care that you do. Oh, someone said, sorry, I accidentally punched a button. I was trying to thumbs up. Oh, I didn't even see that. I was just reading the comments. I think we have something in the comments too. I'll read the chat. Um,
Or go for a walk, do
Yep.
yoga, someone said.
Absolutely.
What I have a question for you guys. It looks like Jamie's there, yeah. But if anybody, and you put in the chat too, but just going through that little like body, we went through right side, left side. Did you notice that you felt more in your body, more calmer just by doing that? Okay, I'm seeing some nodding heads here.
I did. I was able to focus in on that area. Um, just a little transparency. I deal with chronic pain all the time, so I'm always trying to figure out ways to adjust myself, and especially being in a remote position right now, as opposed to I used to walk all over whatever unit or out in the community. So now I'm more sedentary. So figuring those points out and figuring out that balance between sitting
Yeah.
and movement. Liz said, I'm juggling work in these meetings. My apologies. No worries, you're multitasking. So that takes critical thinking. Oh, just pause there and say, breathe in and breathe out. So, yes.
Mhm.
Anyone else have any suggestions? I felt I was healing the area. Oh, they're coming in. Sarah, can you pop in if I missed one, just in case?
Somebody said I felt like I was healing the areas I was focusing on. Yes, yes, yes. Attention and awareness is the key.
Absolutely. And then we have Nicole, CHW supervises. When I feel overwhelmed, I try to get up and step away for a moment, whether that is to walk for a moment or get water. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the brain can reset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And our brain is what, over 80% water anyway. It needs to be replenished, especially when we're
Yeah.
putting in all this hard work and this critical
Or drink
thinking.
more water.
Yes. I hear someone
There's
else.
so,
Someone says water is important.
mhm,
I,
so
did I hear
important.
someone come off of mute? You're bouncing around. So that's the only thing with Zoom. It's like you go in a zigzag. Welcome, Anika. Okay. We have our second presenter here. If we're done with asking questions here, she's going to start sharing her screen.
And I would just like to say thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Melanie. I
Yeah,
definitely will see you
yeah,
again. And
yeah. And if anybody has any further questions, you can pass, Sarah can pass them on to me at a later date.
before you pop out, could you share about your son and his artwork in the Twin Cities? It's so
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So my son lives in St. Paul and he has started a nonprofit called Trilingua. And it's working Trilingua because I think there's Hmong, Latino, and then the Anglo, I'm guessing, population. But he's working with trying to get a brick and mortars like an indie movie theater going. But he's been doing a lot of working with bringing the communities together. He has shows outside this winter. It's been indoors at the what is it? It's the East Freedom Library. You
Mm-hmm.
probably know about that.
Yeah.
And he's just working now on getting the next level of working as a nonprofit, whatever that next stage is. And so it's going well. So if anybody's interested in it, it's Trilingua. I think it's Trilingua Cinema. And my son's name is Jordy Flance. All right. Well, thank you so much, Angela and Sarah.
Definitely we'll keep in touch.
Thank you,
Okay.
Melanie.
Thank you, honey. Appreciate you asking me.
Melanie, if you're jumping off, I want to also say thank you for the meditation. I can definitely relate to Liz, who said she's juggling work in these meetings. I just breezed in from facilitating a workshop. So sitting down and logging into Zoom to that meditation, primo. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And that's such a good point, Jamie, that it's like we can use those, like, if you do a little meditation of that, it could be 3 minutes, but if you use it to segue between one part of your day to the next, it can make a world of difference.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, blessings to all of you.
You too as well. Definitely we'll keep in touch.
Yeah,
Bye.
sounds good. Okay. Bye-bye.
And now we will transition to our second portion of our presentation today as we welcome in Jamie Kinnico Schauder. Jamie has been a self-sufficiency counselor with Life Work Planning Center for 4 years. Through the service provided at the LWPC, like trauma-informed workshops, and one-on-one counseling. Jamie works with women from all walks of life to find empowerment and courage and realization of their goals or dreams. Jamie is a Myers-Briggs practitioner, a certified stress management and resilience trainer, a mother of two brave, smart, kind daughters with a professional and personal mission of creating a safe and healthy world for girls and women. She quickly learned the importance of challenging her own compassion fatigue. She is passionate about sharing the strategies of SMART with all who are interested in learning. After all, when others are doing well, we may all be well. And I'd like to welcome Jamie from LifeWorks Planning Center for our second part of our presentation.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for the introduction. So before we dive directly into stress management and resilience training, I want to share a little bit, if I may, about Life Work Planning Center, or rather the Minnesota Family Resiliency Partnership. We are a statewide program. So as community health workers, the services provided through Minnesota Resiliency Partnership may be beneficial for a number of the clients that you're working with and serving day in and day out. So I did provide Angela and Sarah with this the state provider list and contact. The eligibility for that program is to have identified at one time in your life as a displaced homemaker. So taking care of your home and family while dependent on the income of another individual. And now, due to the loss of that second income, you need to enter the workforce either for the first time ever in your life or to re-enter the workforce to provide for your family. So Life Work Planning Center is just one vendor of that service that serves the 9-county region in South Central Minnesota. Our services are unique in that our mission is to increase the self-sufficiency of women and their families. So that's where the trauma-informed care and the personal and professional development workshops focus is. The stress management resilience training is a 4-hour training that we provide at no cost to our participants here. And we're going to dive into a little bit of it today with a focus on kind attention and how kind attention towards ourselves and others can really increase our compassion for ourselves, ultimately decreasing our compassion fatigue overall. I'm hoping that this will be a little bit interactive and that some folks will be willing to come off of mute and share some thoughts, ideas, experiences as we go through this conversation. Because if I go back a screen, you'll see that not only am I a self-sufficiency counselor, but I am a co-student. I am still learning and growing in these areas as well. And my best teachers are all of you and every other human I come into contact with. So thank you. My first question is, when is kindness to yourself and others most difficult for you? We have
When
any?
you're stressed.
When we're stressed, ding, 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 I have a bell. I'm going to ring it. That's the answer we're looking for. Thank you, Liz, for your vulnerability with the answer. When we're stressed, what creates stress for us day to day? The big loaded question with all kinds of answers.
Our day-to-day responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say the unexpected. Anytime something unexpected happens.
Yep.
Things that are going on inside our bodies.
Yes. Those are all accurate and great answers. We're all caregivers in some way, nurturers. So the unexpected, I think it was Anne who said that. that happens day in, day out. Angela, you said our day-to-day responsibilities. So unfortunately, sometimes that means what's creating stress for us are our children, our families, the clients that we're working with. So we really want to be able to decrease that response, that reaction within ourselves, but step back and recognize that it's a natural response. There's nothing wrong with us. We're not bad people for feeling and experiencing that. It's just the human condition. So before I move on to the next slide, I want you to imagine you're at a backyard barbecue or a picnic with your family and friends. And this individual shows up unexpectedly, unannounced, uninvited.
Persevering.
What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? How do you react to this individual in your space unexpectedly?
Greet him with a smile. Introduce yourself. I mean, I kind of like big burly guys, but that's just me.
Yeah.
He wouldn't scare me.
All
I think
right.
they can feed off your vibe.
Yep. You're absolutely correct. It sounds like you've probably been practicing some kind attention and putting some of these things into practice in your own life. So thank you for that response.
Billy, I see you came off mute. Did you have something to share?
Any other reactions? Would anybody feel, or even, in response to the beat them with a smile, we go into protection mode, survival mode. This is unexpected. He is a big burly guy with a bat and a fist. Could be intimidating, could be a threat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring up another image, but it's going to come and go very quickly. So make sure you're looking at the screen. And I'm going to have the same question. You're at a backyard barbecue with your family, and this individual shows up unexpectedly. How do you respond? How are you feeling?
Still with that smile, I think looks can be deceiving. So
Mm-hmm.
always showing kindness regardless of what our appearances are.
Thank you, Nicole. I feel like I am preaching to the choir with the idea of kind attention, because now we're 2 for 2 with folks who have clearly been putting it into practice every day. So I love to hear that, truthfully. Our brains take 30 milliseconds of seeing an individual before we determine their trustworthiness, their competence, their aggressiveness, their attractiveness, and their likability. And within that 30 milliseconds, we've determined how are we going to interact with this individual? What are our responses and reactions to that individual going to be? We can soften this response with kind attention, as 2 of us in the room have done, by setting a daily intention to practice kind attention for ourselves and others. We're going to take a backstage tour of the brain here in a minute, but before I dive into that, I want to provide one example of a kind attention practice, and those are a 5-minute kind attention walk each day. And this doesn't need to be an additional walk that you schedule in, but just when you're in the grocery store or when you're running errands day to day, like Angela said, when you're working on site someplace and you're walking from space to space within your own building. And it just takes 3 steps. Each person that you run into, you want to remind yourself that every human that you come in contact with is both special and struggling.
Mhm.
We are all struggling with in 3 main areas, and those are focus, fatigue, and fear, day in and day out. The second step, after we've recognized that this human that we haven't seen before, or maybe we have, and they create some stress response in us, they're special and struggling, we're going to wish them well. And this isn't going to be an out loud, verbalized, I wish you well to them. That could get a little awkward. So it's going to be a silent, I wish you well inside your head. You may make eye contact with the individual and give a little bit of a nod or a smile. And then the third step is to remind yourself that when others are well and in better places, that you are well and in better places. So this is a drawing of the brain, and some of you may be very familiar with the 2 areas that are represented here. The first is the red area, the amygdala. Our amygdala is our stress center or our stress response, and the green area is our prefrontal cortex. We can also call this our rational brain or the kindness center. Does anyone know what happens between these 2 areas of the brain when we are experiencing a stress response?
Do they release those stress hormones?
Yes, the amygdala will release stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline.
Adrenaline, yes.
Mhm. These 2 areas of the brain experience physical changes when we are under chronic stress. It happens as a positive feedback loop. So opposite from the experience of hunger, your stomach feels hunger, sends a message to your brain to feel that. Your brain says eat, you eat, and the hunger goes away. But with the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, when we experience stress, the amygdala gets fed and it grows. And as the amygdala grows, it becomes stronger, therefore accessing our stress response at stronger and higher rates. While at the same time, our prefrontal cortex, or that rational brain and that kindness center, is physically shrinking, making access to the rational brain and kindness more difficult. So many of the folks that we are working with as community health workers, as a self-sufficiency counselor, have this stress response that has occurred and created the physical change within their brain. As the providers ourselves experiencing chronic stress and secondhand traumas, we may be experiencing the same thing as well. The wonderful thing is that this can be reversed. It's not a permanent change. Clinical trials and research have shown that within 28 days of a dedicated practice, the amygdala will begin to shrink, and the cortisol, the adrenaline that it has released, will absorb back into the brain where it belongs, and the prefrontal cortex will begin to grow. There is, however, a third key player with every decision that we have to make. So in this example, that's an image of a donut there. We're presented with a donut, and we're going to receive 3 messages from within our brain before we decide what we're going to do when faced with the donut. The blue area here is the hippocampus, or our memory center. And our hippocampus is going to remember that we like donuts. It might tell us, eat that donut. The amygdala, that stress center is going to maybe have fear for the donut. Going to think of the germs, the calories. Is this the last donut and somebody else didn't get one? Am I taking it from somebody else? And then we're also going to receive a message from our rational brain that tells us, yeah, an occasional donut is fine. There were enough for everybody. It's okay if I take that donut for myself. But it's very difficult to decide which message are we going to listen to. And in the example of a donut, that's pretty small, a pretty small decision. But when faced with how am I going to respond to this person in front of me who may be intimidating or authoritative or upset and stressed themselves, this messaging happens very quickly and we have to make very quick decisions about how to respond. So the physical changes that occur in our brains are due to chronic stress, can be reversed, like I said. 28 days of dedicated practice creates that change, but within 6 months, the brain can return back to a normal, healthy brain. We are going to dive into a kind attention practice called the 2-minute rule. Stress management resilience training goes through multiple practices. I believe there's a total of 12 total practices that you can implement in your daily life to increase your access to stress management and increase your resilience. And the beautiful thing is that you don't have to implement all of them to experience the benefits of it. You only have to implement what works for you. None of the practices add any additional time to your day. Oftentimes when I'm working with individuals, I hear the response of, well, I don't have time to meditate. I'm so busy, I don't even have time alone to be able to sit and do that. SMART is a form of modern meditation where we're taking meditative practices into our day-to-day life, and it doesn't have to be silence and alone. So while it's called the 2-minute rule, it's 2 minutes of time that you're already going to be spending with an individual. Gratitude, sending well wishes to others, having curious moments, meditation, and empowered movement are all other areas, examples of things that you can do to increase your compassion and decrease compassion fatigue. I have another question for you all, and that is, how much time do you think the average family spends together at the end of a busy work and school day?
I will say 1 hour.
Thank you. I think that was Jennifer. Any other guesses?
Twenty minutes.
20 minutes. We're getting closer with that answer. The average family spends 90 seconds of engaged time together at the end of a busy work and school day. And the key word is engaged time. We have 3 types of interactions that we have with individuals in our lives. They are transactional, adversarial, and now I can't remember the name of the third one, the technical name, but I'll say beneficial interactions. So engaged is the word that we're looking for here. And this is an image of a family where they're all on their tablets or playing video games. And we're looking to create engaged time together. So imagine, again, that you're out to eat with your family. And an individual, a close friend from years and years ago arrives. You haven't seen or heard from them in maybe decades. Who's going to receive your attention in that moment?
Your friend.
Your friend, the individual that you haven't seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
This is because love and novelty have a mismatch with attention. Novelty beats out love every single time. Has anybody ever heard of something called the binocular effect?
I don't recall that.
The binocular effect is something that we do with ourselves. You know, that saying, you're your own worst critic.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it with our loved ones as well. So looking at the bright full moon on a clear night is beautiful to look at with the naked eye. But as soon as you look at it with a pair of binoculars or under a telescope, you see that it is just a big gray rock full of pockmarks and holes. And that happens in situations of love. So we want to seek out novelty where there is love. With ourselves and with others. So the actions of the 2-minute rule begin with meeting one person every day, assuming that you haven't seen them for a month. What I have done personally to put this into practice in my own life is when I arrive home from work at the end of the day, even though I have a long commute, I'm still focused on the road and listening to music and whatever other thoughts are popping into my mind. Once I pull into my driveway, get parked, I take out my phone, I check, all of my emails, any social media, I respond to what I need to respond to, and I set my phone aside before I enter the house. I've taken care of all the business I need to take care of. Meditation is a great practice at this time as well, like what Melanie just led us through before entering our home to our loved ones. That way then, when we enter the home, we don't have any other worries on our plate to think of. It's also good preparation for the next steps of the 2-minute rule. And the first step is going to be to look into the eyes of the person that you love. Can anybody remember, and I'm sure there are people who can remember and recall the eye color and the shape of their loved ones, and try to think of when is the last time you truly looked in their eyes and noticed. The wonderful thing about this eye contact connection is that it actually releases dopamine and oxytocin for both parties. So as you look into somebody else's eyes, you're experiencing that benefit, and so are they. It works with yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror and noticing your eye color and your eye shape. It works with loved ones, it works with strangers, and it works with pets as well.
So the eyes are the windows to the soul.
The eyes are the window to the soul. Absolutely, Angela. So that's step number 1. Within the first 2 minutes of meeting with this individual that you're going to practice with is to look into their eyes. Not for the full 2 minutes. That's another space where things could get awkward, but just make that eye contact. The second step is to speak only nice words. Only nice words. The third step is do not improve. I know that I am guilty of walking into the house when my kids are sitting at the table and immediately asking, do you have any homework? Did you get the dishes done? Can you take the trash out? Those are improvements. So we want to nix that and not ask those questions within the first 2 minutes and focus on the speaking of nice words. So this is where the pausing before going into the house can be helpful. You can think about what is it that I'm going to say. And some ideas are letting them know how you've thought of them throughout the day. Maybe you heard a song or you saw an image. You heard something that made you think of them throughout the day and sharing that experience with them. Another thing you can do is just tell them how you feel in their presence, how you appreciate them and what you appreciate them for. And a third wonderful thing that you can do in this part of the 2-minute rule is to tell them that they are right. Because everybody loves to be right. And it does not matter how big or small the "you were right" was. It can be even, "you were right, it rained today."
I just want you to learn how to heal.
And then we had already kind of jumped ahead into that "do not approve" within the first 2 minutes of meeting with an individual. So my final question for everyone is, who in your life deserves your 2 minutes of undivided attention, but is presently not getting it?
Love you.
You can answer out loud if you wish to, but if that's too vulnerable, you can keep it to yourself. It's very rare that I hear answers of myself. It's myself that isn't receiving my undivided attention. So sometimes the space in which we need to begin the practice of the 2-minute rule and of kind attention is by looking in the mirror, looking in our own eyes, telling ourselves kind things, not improving, not stressing, reminding ourselves of times that we are right, and then moving to our family, our loved ones, and our clients. Once we've included ourselves, we've increased our capacity for others. Any questions?
Anyone like to share their perspectives or comments regarding the presentation?
I've taken Jamie's SMART training before and I forgot about the 2-minute rule, so I'm really glad.
That was interesting to learn about, and something that I would definitely like to incorporate into my daily regiment. Because sometimes, because I don't have those pre-existing commitments as I once did, sometimes I overpredict certain things, and don't allow enough time for myself, so to speak, in those processes. Luckily I have a dog that reminds me of that. So he's like, hey, we have to go for a walk, we have to go outside, we have to get busy, we have to do those things. So those type of things. Also transitioning from winter to spring, and garden seasoning is opening up, and so figuring out what hobbies and outdoor activities that I do find most interesting. So it gave me a thought process around there. Also boundary settings. So sometimes you have pre-existing boundaries, but you may need to revisit them from time to time. Even you have to set boundaries for yourself. Thinking about the health benefits from that, looking at it from those perspectives, that inward work that needs to be done to bring about the healing. And for me, that makes a more peaceful life, figuring out, even in moments where we have those unexpected events to occur, working through those transitions in those moments, and sometimes realizing that change or transition will happen beyond our control. Sometimes it's voluntarily, sometimes it's involuntarily. Just go with the flow of it. That's one of the things that I try to remind myself of, that, because I like a little bit of control and direction and structure all the time. So I can find that myself. Yeah. So
Angela, you hit the nail on the head with the health benefits of it all. With the backstage tour of the brain that we took, that's just brushing on the surface of the overall impact of living in chronic stress or experiencing burnout and compassion fatigue, which is, just other terms for chronic stress, right? And those physical changes that are occurring in our brains, and what impact is that having on the rest of our organs and the pain that we're experiencing in our bodies. And then how does that carry out in how we show up to and for ourselves and for others.
Absolutely. When we're in a high stress situation or high stress volume of life or ebb and flow of life, we're operating almost in a primitive state of mind,
Yes.
and that's
Yeah.
survival in that primitive state of mind, which causes other things to happen in our body, including aging us very rapidly. So yeah, so
Yeah.
one of the things that I do, I have noticed about myself, one of the things is ever so often my clothes don't when I notice my clothes don't fit the way they normally do, I take a reflection, give me a moment like, hey, okay, so is your feelings being compensated in other areas, such as that delicious donut that we saw
Yep.
yesterday? So has that been one of your tools and tactics? If not, we need to readjust that and figure out another mechanism to add into our self-care. What do you do, Sarah?
What do I do when?
To alleviate stress or help you when you're feeling those overwhelming moments or
Well, I shoot for a 30-minute daily practice 3 to 5 days a week. And do that in the morning or otherwise it won't happen. And sometimes it might only be 10 minutes in the morning, but it's a big help. And water is really important, drinking it or going to wash my hands. That really helps me. And stepping away,
yeah, powering down,
yeah, for a
disconnecting.
minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pause. The power of the pause, Sarah.
And I was thinking when you were talking about living chronically stressed, it's those times where it's easy then to judge others.
Mhm.
Getting into judging, you're judging yourself, you're judging everything.
Yep. Yep. Well, and that 30 milliseconds in which we're creating those judgments, that judgmental attention. Angela, you had said something about it being primitive. It absolutely is. Our
Yeah.
brains have not kept up with the world. They simply haven't. Kind of a silly, funny way to look at it is, individuals thousands of years ago who chose caution and safety over risk taking of trusting an unknown, unseen individual are the people who survived and created more cautious, safety-minded individuals. So it's primitive judgment. We can combat it though with kind attention first towards ourselves, the power of the pause, like Sarah said, and reminding ourselves. I've said it a few times. I said it in my bio that when others are doing well, we are doing well.
Mm-hmm. And the first approach of that is increasing awareness of that and needed, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Because that helps us create healthy relationships with ourselves. And improves our interpersonal skills, work-life balance. And so it also equates into other things into your life. Yes, I see a hand goes up. Step right in.
Oh, hi.
Dr.
Yeah.
Wynn. Mhm.
Yeah, my name is Ong Wen. I'm a community health worker. I just wanted to pitch in, I think just to be aware, just the self-awareness that, self-evaluation every day makes you like, instead of like looking at others find fault, right? You always gonna get yourself angry and being self-distractive and self-stressful. I think first thing we have to look at our inner self, that we have to make sure that what have I done uh, to improve myself, instead of like looking at others finding fault. That will bring more like negativity in yourself inner. So I think that helps, by evaluating yourself in a daily life.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
For sharing. Yes, definitely so. I always work myself up in a frenzy right before the circle. I'm really like an introvert. I'm into myself, really quiet, reserved, oftentimes until it's time to work. And it's just like, I'm like, oh, I'm full of anxiety. And then I have to take a moment and then I have to bring myself back in and focus on the mission. I saw another hand up. Was that Ann? I don't know, you switch screens every time someone, that's the only thing about Zoom, it switches when someone talks, the boxes
No,
never stay the same.
that was just me clapping my hands for what Ongwen said because I'm in 100%. And then you said something earlier, I was just clapping my hands.
Oh, absolutely. Never, but I just see the flicker and then the boxes shift. You're like, find the person in the puzzle. Yeah, so definitely this was very informative. Especially taking those 2 minutes to spend time with individuals whom you haven't commonly spent any time with lately. So that reconnecting piece, I definitely get that. Especially being I'm still in a hustle bustle mode. And so even if though I'm transitioning through another phase in life, I'm opening up but also another phase of life. So and it gets kind of busy sometimes. And so it's like, okay, I have to stop for a moment and check in with myself.
Mhm.
Definitely so. Um, as we move towards a close, we could shift into alliance, business. Everyone is welcome to stay. You as well, Jamie. Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah,
Really,
I will go ahead and sign off and leave you all to your business. Again, thank you for the opportunity to present and to share this with all of you. I knew I was preaching to the choir before I even got here because we're all on a very similar mission
absolutely.
and sharing these things with the world. So thank you again. Enjoy your day.
You too as well. Bye bye.